Tim. The one thing I took away from that is I've made on my to-do list to have a quick word with Claire when I get home tonight about what she thinks about being a good tax planning vehicle. So I think I know what she's going to say to me later on when I have a chat to her. I'd like to open the floor up, basically, if there's any questions for our panel, if there's any queries, anything they want to have a quick word or comment about. So we've got Dawn at the back there with a microphone, so if you want to just make yourself aware to her, and then we can have a few questions to the panel, please. Who's going to start things off?
Hi, David Thompson, Wines and Spirits, Asia. We're a 100% exporting company. Interested to see if you have a take on what's happening in, say, Manchester and the surrounds, the new world that's going to be built up there with investment that our Chancellor is talking about. And if I could somehow wrap that into China, the Chinese are taking a great interest there, not just football, but lots of other things as well. Do you have a feel on how it's going to develop from the point of view of the UK, but more especially how the link with China is going to affect us all?
Well, I think my own personal view is that, as I said earlier on, he's looking to try and bridge that gap between north and south. You know, you've got HS2 coming up, and he's announced his HS3 as well. So, as you say, there's a lot of investment there with Manchester, but also with the corridor right the way from Liverpool as well, in terms of the investment and that corridor right the way across with the Science Park and the Gateway as well at Liverpool. It's a question on how us in Cheshire, I think, are also going to pull along on the coattails of that and get the sort of the benefits of that sort of investment that's coming that way. So I think it's important for us in this region to certainly make sure we have part of that. China, David, do you have an input on China at all and how things are in the economy over there and that's affecting us?
I guess I think we talked about China last year, didn't we? And the facts, I think the economy as a whole is restructuring, and it needs to, you know, to take the focus away from just building infrastructure, new housing developments. They need to focus on the consumer market out there. And each year there are masses of more middle-class families out there with disposable income. So I think long-term it's a good thing, but China's, you know, going to have a few domestic issues in the short term. But I think for exporters around Europe, potentially long-term it's a good opportunity as, you know, more and more middle-class families emerge in China. Yeah.
Would you invest yourself?
It depends on the market, obviously. I think there are still massive opportunities out there relative to other countries. They're still booming ahead, aren't they? And it's I think the demographics in China are the key to the long term, in that you've got an emerging middle class out there, so, you know, and some serious money. So yeah, I'd quite happily invest in China as a long-term strategy. But I think in the short term there could be a lot more in the way of problems if you're talking about stock market investments, and you know that the slowdown. They're still growing at 6-7%, so relatively speaking, very strong.
I think you're in a premium British product, aren't you, basically? So there's going to be a market out there for you in terms of what your proposal is.
Hiya. I want to ask about the national insurance of Class 2 is being abolished, and what the person who is a start-up company, self-employed, just below the personal allowance, what are they going to benefit from, state and pension, when they can't afford the Class 4?
Yeah. Tim, are you?
Yeah. Well, Class 2 is going to be abolished from April 18. Now, that's a cost of about £130 a year. So, you know, it's a saving, but it's not a major saving. Class 4 is being looked at, currently at 9% and 2%. Whether he'll bring those down or abolish it going forward, who knows. For the self-employed, yeah, it looks like they are getting hit. Tax rates are still at 40, 45. Will the 45% rate come down? Who knows? Capital allowances, all right, he's made the investment allowance 200,000 and he's kept it there for a long term. So at least they're getting some tax back on their investment. But like I said in my 20 minutes or so, it's looking towards a corporate UK going forward. It's very hard to compete with a 17% corporation tax rates and flexible tax on cash getting out of the company. So sole traders are going to be in for a tough time going forward. Not much reliefs going forward for them.
A follow-on question, really. We get involved in advising a lot of people when they're starting their businesses.
Yeah.
Many of them are individuals, and that decision of whether to go down the limited route, the corporate route, or the self-employed route, historically, the sole trader appears to have more freedom in the way they can interpret their tax situation. Are you saying, therefore, people starting out is better advice to say, look at the limited option now? Or is there a point above which there is a size of business where you would sort of give advice around that?
Yeah, I think if you're starting off in business and you're looking at the turnover and profit thresholds, if you're below 50k, I would say stick with a sole trader, a lot more flexible. Once you go up that route, go up beyond the 50k level, then maybe worth incorporating. The reduction that you get in your corporation tax bill should start paying for your compliance cost of annual accounts, company returns.
Well, just to sum things up, really, I think the global economy, it's going to be very unhelpful to George Osborne to fill that great big fiscal hole. And certainly with what's happened overnight with the welfare reforms being put on the back burner, and he's now got a further 4.4 billion's worth of hole to fill. I do not know where that's going to come from, so we shall perhaps see about that later on today or in the future. I've mentioned before, and there's been questions about the much hot air that's gone on between the imbalances between North and South, also between baby boomers and Generation X, multinationals and small businesses. But personally speaking, I do think that the budget goes some way to address some of these imbalances. Everybody's well aware at the moment of the pressures that small businesses are under with changes to dividend taxation, auto-enrolment especially now looming large on the horizon for lots of companies, living wage, etc. But I think the budget overall did have more good news than bad, especially for small businesses. Just to round things off, I'd like to say, first of all, thank you to Dawn. She's sitting at the back there with her team around her. Could we just give her a quick round of applause to thank her very much for great organisation. She will tell me if I don't remind you to fill your feedback sheets in, please. So they're in your packs. Could you just do that before you go? The panel, we will be around afterwards along with all the other Howard Worth partners and staff. So please come along and grab us if you've got any questions. And don't forget to tweet us at Howard Worth or hashtag HWBudget2016. But to finally just thank you all for coming. Thank you very much for attending. It's great to see so many of you here. Thank you very much.